thrown overboard for the sharks to eat them like yesterday's or today's lunch. So many sharks start smelling the fresh blood in the Atlantic. The sharks from the Pacific start redirecting their routes, coming to get that fresh meat. Oh, I forgot you said 400 years. So I guess he was suggesting since we was in bondage so long, it was a choice after a while. Really? So what were the guns for? What were the whippings and the lashings for if it was voluntary and by choice? Why, if someone tried to run, which most of us did, what were all the uprisings for? And the slave revolts for if it was a choice? And why, if you ran, did they need slave catchers to go get you if it was by choice? And why did they brand you with your slave master's initials if it was by choice? Why the public hangings if it was by choice? Why the rape of our women, why we got so many different shades of black, even though it's beautiful? Why that if it was by choice? Do I need to continue? If you listen to his talk, he didn't bring up not one historical fact to back up his ludicrous statement. He just said it was by choice. He didn't bring up not one fact to say it was by choice because, and then give the reference to back it up. Not one. Not one historical reference did he give. But he was talking about facts. This was systematic and planned out. Go back and look at the tape. Within the first 3 to 4 minutes, he jumped on a heavy topic like that, and that wasn't planned. No one didn't push him up to that. Of course they did. Of course they did. What is their result other than to confuse the minds of the masses? Who knows? But it's our job to give the correct narrative of our history to our children. Because how many of our children think that? Yes, the Kardashians. Just don't get enough of these women, do they? How can you be a strong black man and got something like that laying by your side? You cannot convince me that you are sticking up for the interests of black people laying next to something like that every night. There is nothing, no woman that looks like that they could put in front of me and then I say I'm sticking up. How could I face my boys every day doing that? First thing, it's not really that bad. There's no way you can actively and seriously look your boys or any other black boy or black people in the face and be serious and say you sticking up for us and laying next to something like that every night. How? I don't hate anyone. I'm just saying it's conflicting interests. It's a conflict in interest. If you go to a job, they ask you certain questions before they hire you. Why? Because they want to know if there's any conflict in interest. Example, they ask you, even when you fill out the application, does any of your relatives work here? Do you have any friends that work here before? Why? Because that may sway your interests and your thought process as being effective in that job. They call it conflict in interest. So how can you be effective in waking up the masses of our people, reversing the psychological warfare, and you're laying next to someone like that? You can love who you love, but don't say you sticking up for us doing that. How? Tell me how that works. So we should not take this clown serious. We should not be wasting our time. But it's all over media, social media. But it's always a different way to give a different perspective. But we shouldn't keep going on about this clown, because it won't be the last time. Anytime someone sits and tries to sell to us that we supposed to support Donald Trump, what is there to talk about? Just a couple years ago, he said Bush didn't care about us, and Trump is 5 times worse than him. At least George Bush had enough common sense not to say some of the idiotic things that this idiot says in public, and the president. I'll pick George Bush over this clown any day if I had to pick between the two, and both of them are demons. We should not take him serious, but we should also know that this talk that he gave, this interview, it was set up from the door by the powers that be. 3 minutes in, he's talking about slavery as a choice, but didn't back it up with any historical facts. What facts did he back it up with? The middle passage is facts. Them packing us on slave ships that can only hold 200-300, and they got 700-800s on there. That's a fact by their own admission. What happened on the plantations is facts. Goodbye, Uncle Tom, the documentary that gives the real deal what happened on the slave plantation, called Goodbye, Uncle Tom, that's a fact because it's written by white people. It's documented by white people. That's a fact. What facts did he give to show or back up that slavery is a choice? None. He is mentally ill and dysfunctional, and that's being nice. So this is Brother Shareef with the Hour of Power. I hope you learned something from this short talk. I hope it gave you a different perspective on this nut that we shouldn't be paying any attention to. He is out of control. What we need to do is concentrate on our narrative and educating our children so our children aren't misled. Yeah, he says it was a choice. We know better than that. But how many other people think it's a choice? And how much are our children and youth misled, not just on that topic, but many other topics? That's what we should be concerned about, because they're the future. Right now, we should be preparing our children to bump us out of the way when it comes to leadership. Because there ain't no one leader no more. Those days are over with. We may never see another Malcolm and Martin and Garvey and all the other, and Harriet Tubman and all the other brothers and sisters who truly laid down their life for us. We may never see that again. So we should be preparing our children to bump us out of the way. See these old broke down men on the pulpit holding on, talking about some of these pastors and stuff. I ain't picking on them, but they holding on instead of preparing the youth to move ahead and take their place. This is Brother Shareef with the Hour of Power. Go to Hour of Power, Shareef Hamid on YouTube. Subscribe and share the channel so we can continue to lift the mind, body, and soul of our people. Peace.